In Elden Ring Nightreign, there's a boss named Libra, Creature of the Night. He's your classic demonic goat entity that embodies the phrase, making a deal with the devil. But his mechanics tell a more complicated story, impartial balance and corrupted alchemy. Now Libra is just one example, because across multiple games, there is so much religious imagery or inspiration that acts as the catalyst to create terrifying boss design. Last time on Dragon Ball Z, I talked about Soulslikes specifically, and I've heard your cries and complaints that Blasphemous is not a Souls-like. I'm really sorry, I guess. For this video, I've expanded my services to reach across other games because there's more to see beyond just one genre. For now, let's go back to Libra and finish dissecting his demonic origins. The fight begins with a deal. Most of them are just plain awful, but this plays perfectly into that deal with the devil phrase. In German folklore and Christian tradition, a demonic bargain always seems fair on the surface, but it's designed to lead to the victim's ultimate ruin. Now, the phrase originated from the legend of Faust, a scholar who made a deal with Mephistopheles, trading his soul for endless knowledge and worldly pleasures. This gives Libra a paradoxical nature. He's not just a boss who causes destruction, but orderly chaos, playing on the greed of anyone who shakes his hand. He can even appear throughout the open world as a dealer, causing a curse on players who have to cough up runes to cure it, and then he can make a similar deal afterwards. Now his actual design is tied to Baphomet, a goat-like idol worshipped by the Knights Templar back in the 11th century. In many iterations, Baphomet is a total equilibrium of opposites. Half human, half animal, male, female, light, and dark. Those type of things. Libra is all about balance, so he plays the role of a demon of order perfectly. I mean, his name is literally the Equilibrious Beast. Take a guess on what that means. However, what's most interesting about Libra are his gameplay mechanics. Libra can use a dubious form of alchemy. Counterfeit gold causes loss of sanity, beckoning madness. However, those who foment madness are sure to succumb to the selfsame malady in the end. Alchemy, by definition, is an ancient pre-scientific tradition combining philosophy, mysticism, and practical chemistry aimed at transforming base metals into gold. In layman's terms, the idea of transforming something imperfect into something pure, both physically and spiritually. Alchemy is also a great song by Starset, one of my favorite bands of all time. In many religious traditions, the transmutation of base metals into gold was a metaphor for the soul's journey to God. Libra's alchemy is counterfeit, representing a perversion of the divine process. But it's interesting to note too that these pieces of gold can actually cure the madness during the fight. Also, I just found this out, but Libra is also left-handed, and apparently, in historical demonology and medieval Christianity, the left-handed path was the path of the devil. So to my fellow lefties out there, I guess we're screwed. If you're left-handed like me, subscribe for more content like this. And if you're right-handed, do the same. But here's the thing, right? It's pretty obvious what his inspirations are. A giant goat man screams demonology. That's child's play. I'm here to pull imagery from places you wouldn't even dare consider. I'm actually confident that you cannot guess the religious roots of this next boss. I'm not even sure if you guys ever even heard of this character.
This is Bob Barbas of the Raptor News Network. Just doing God's work.
Bob Barbas, the TV news reporter and owner of Raptor News Network, the largest media corporation in the world. Just doing God's work. You know, I don't care what anyone says. Look at me. DmC Devil May Cry was a phenomenal game. I personally love how comically edgy the whole thing was, and you know what? It really captures that early 2010s aesthetic. Now, Bob Barbas disguises himself as a regular human, an ugly one at that, but he's actually a demon of propaganda and fake news. As the owner of Raptor News, Bob Barbas uses his influence to spread misinformation, fearmonger his viewers, and slander anyone who opposes his master, Mundus, the king of demons in this universe. His real form is this disembodied digital head inside the heart of his studio. He takes on a more modern approach of an all-seeing deity through technology, but his imagery goes deeper than that. See, he's actually inspired by Marbus from the Ars Goetia, a famous piece of demonology text from the 17th century. What's kind of funny is that Marbus goes by another name. Yeah, I know, very subtle. Now in the lore, Barbas was the president of Hell who ruled over 36 legions of demons. According to the text, he was a revealer of secrets and knowledge, but also a teacher of the mechanical arts. But Bob Barbas completely twists this and fabricates the truth, manipulates the human conscious. He's a modernized version of Barbas, again using his influence over the media as a weapon against humanity. His boss fight, I like it, it's very trippy, but it perfectly replicates his character and supernatural powers over anything tech related. It's a very unique twist on demons in video games, which is actually a good topic for a video. The Devil May Cry series overall, including the reboot, have major religious themes, but due to the more lighthearted nature of the games and their focus on action rather than lore or story, it does dampen the horror or intensity of these inspirations, which is not a bad thing, it's just how the games are designed. Well, except there is another boss in this game called Succubus, and she's pretty gross. Bob Barbas was a demon of the news. Succubus is a demon of lust. Which is weird, right? Because I can't see any relation between the succubus in Mythos and the succubus in DMC. Here, let me explain. In European folklore, a succubus is a demon that takes the shape of an attractive woman or ugly hag, made a video on hags by the way, that enters a man's dreams to either seduce or grape them in order to both take their semen for birthing new demons and stealing their souls for consumption. Yeah, pretty tame, right? Well, the succubus in DMC is the secret ingredient for the largest drink consumed by all of humanity, virility. She secretes this substance that, when consumed, makes humans weaker and more docile, thus allowing Mundus to rule without major resistance. The origins are clearly there, it's in the name, but the relation is kinda hard to interpret. My main thought is similar to how a succubus seduces a man with lust, the succubus in DMC seduces through product consumption. DMC specifically has major themes about the corruption of society, so it kinda makes sense here. Instead of being a beautiful woman, she is a giant, maggot-like creature, which does fit some depictions in mythology. Throughout her boss fight, her vulgarity is expressed openly, through cursing Dante and the descriptive ways she would like to kill him. Succubus has a unique twist on the origins, much like Bob Barbas, but you know what, let's take a more grounded approach, where the folklore is an accurate reflection of the monster's role inside the game. Reanimal features a small variety of terrifying monsters, including a man who rides a tricycle. I don't know how they can make a scene so terrifying and hilarious at the same time, but you know what, it works. One of the less prominent creatures is known simply as the Brook Horse, a giant skeletal monster with the head of a horse skull. You would understandably think that this would be some sort of land animal, but it actually resides within the dark waters that we have to navigate throughout the story. In one section, we have to physically remove its eye, which then prompts it to chase us underwater, showcasing its supernatural resilience and hatred for the children. Probably because we removed its eye. A skeletal horse that drowns kids? You know, it sounds exactly like the Brook Horse from Scandinavian folklore and German mythology. Yes, they have the exact same name. But it's a creature that would lure victims, specifically children, into the water. It would be a beautiful horse, but once people would ride it, it would then dive into the sea, drowning the rider immediately. Now, what's kind of ironic to me is that there are other numerous water horses from mythology, such as the hippocampus or kelpie. But the Brook Horse obviously fits this one in Reanimal the most, not just because of the name, but the Brook Horse specifically has a more malicious personality when compared to the rest. Hippocampus is a sign of speed and strength. The Kelpie acts more as a warning. Weirdly enough though, the appearance does not match. In folklore or mythology, they look exactly like horses. In Reanimal, it's this anthropomorphic horse skeleton. Even the concept art shows a more accurate depiction. So why change it to this? My game theory is the more accurate design would not fit Reanimal's atmosphere. It's a story that's hard to completely decipher, but a starving horse in the waters of a flooded world indicates an ancient rot that's been plaguing these lands far beyond the scale of these children in our perspective. A regal horse would indicate a more supernatural presence, but I think the game wants to leave these interpretations more ambiguous. So far, we've seen demons and myths as inspiration for horrific creatures and boss fights. Let's move on to something a little bit bigger, an elder dragon whose design pulls from a current major religion. It's been a while since I've talked about Monster Hunter, and for that I deeply apologize. If you're new here, Monster Hunter is one of, if not my favorite series in gaming ever. I have loved this franchise since I was a kid, and pretty much every game they release is a banger. Now, the monster I'm talking about today is Shara Ishvalda, the final boss of Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Compared to the other monsters, it's already vastly unique. The most notable features are its giant hand-like appendages. It uses these hands to create vibrations in the ground, shoot air blasts from its fingertips, or to, conjure a ball of pure air and energy. It's an amazing boss fight, one that takes heavy inspiration from Buddhism. Now, it also has traces of Hinduism as well, but the Buddhist teachings are inscribed all over this fight. Even the phase transitions are a reflection of nirvana, or enlightenment. The fight begins with Shara Ishvalda encased in a large shell of rock, symbolizing the material world or the ego that hides the true self. Once enough damage is dealt, it sheds this hard exterior, revealing a complete contrast in design. It has, in a way, ascended. Even the soundtrack supports this. It's called A Single Bloom in an Eternity. Now, in Buddhist teachings, the lotus flower is symbolic of purity and spiritual awakening. Its head crest and the way its face opens up are designed to resemble a lotus flower. But what's really striking about his design are the giant wing hands, and it's not just a cool mechanic for the players to enjoy, but the wingtips are shaped like fingers that perform mudras. And they're basically symbolic gestures used in Buddhist and Hindu iconography. Shara uses these gestures to channel sonic vibrations. Now, what's really cool, in some Eastern philosophies, the universe was created through a primordial sound. Shara uses the same concept here, to reshape or destroy the earth, to the extent where he can basically swim through the land. Now, on top of this, and specifically Monster Hunter, we can extract some additional lore from the equipment. If you're somehow still not convinced, take a look at some of these weapon names. Immovable Dharma, Dawning Tranquility, Inescapable Karma. Karma's a huge thing in Buddhist teachings. All of these are referenced Buddhist concepts of pursuing enlightenment and shedding earthly desires. Very rarely does Monster Hunter use religion as the roots for a dragon's design, but you know what? I'm hoping that changes, because Shara Ishvalda's design is one of the more unique ones in the entire series. And I don't say that lightly, because this series has over 300 monsters. And that's not even including the 150 plus monsters in the Frontier series, which I have also played. It's ridiculous. But Monster Hunter is not known for its religious imagery. So let's finish with a game that is very much well known for its religious inspirations. Let's talk about Blasphemous. Again, because this game's art style is freaking awesome, and the lore is way too deep for just one video. Now, the last boss in Blasphemous 2 is Incarnate Devotion. The name literally means devotion or faith made flesh. This boss is the physical embodiment of all religious beliefs. It's known as the last son of the miracle being the faceless entity that chooses who to punish or who to bless according to its twisted morals. Incarnate Devotion is a god that feeds off the loop all religions are based on. Faith creates God, God demands faith, and faith strengthens God. His heart beats with more vitality the more prayers it receives. And that heart has its own symbolism as well. In Catholic art, Jesus is often depicted pointing or holding his glowing, often wounded heart, symbolizing his divine love and sacrifice for humanity. The way the arms are crossed over the chest resembles a cross of penitence, or the cross of St. Andrew. Given the game's focus on Spanish Catholicism, this pose also mimics the positioning of many saints and martyrs in the Baroque era statuary, signaling a state of eternal devotion or a blissful acceptance of suffering. While not strictly part of the pose, the massive golden structure behind the head completes the religious silhouette, and also makes for a great thumbnail. It mimics a monstrance, the ornate vessel used to display the Eucharistic host. There we go. It's a piece of bread in Catholic tradition meant to represent the body of Christ in communion. The boss is essentially being offered to the world as the new host of the miracle. I think the concept of worship itself, creating the final boss in this series, so far, a third game would be great. But It's the perfect conclusion here, because no matter what they believe or how they believe it, this fuels the powers of the Incarnate Devotion. I thought this would be a great boss to end on because it really signifies the act of religions overall. Faith to God or gods, they respond, and we respond accordingly. Again, I'm a Christian myself. I believe it's more about a relationship with Jesus than it is a structured religion, but many others differ from that, and that's fine. Now, there are still many bosses with heavy religious inspirations or mechanics to cover, so who knows, this may become a series, or what I've always wanted to do was cover cults in video games, like Resident Evil or Bloodborne, but that's a topic for a different time. Thanks for watching, and if you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care everyone, and of course, stay safe.